Hey guys, welcome to week 2 notes and lecture. So you should have already watched or we talked about together in class the pro professional portfolio and your technical endorsement that you're working on for the end of this year. And I did a video and it's called technical endorsement. As a matter of fact, before I go any further with this, let me pop over here to your lesson plan. CJ2 week 2 lesson plan. All of the links are in here to these videos that I'm talking about and that I'm making for you. And all of your work each day, day by day, is plotted out for you. And of course, I will share this with you. As you probably know already, I am now going to use the Google Classroom, which I never did before. It was just the Drive. And you guys are still going to use Drive, your Drive as well. That's still the same. But I'm going to post a lot of the things that you guys are going to be working on. It'll just kind of all be in one place here. So I'll post the lesson plans here. I will post documents that you need to make a copy of for yourself and move to your Drive. That'll be posted here as well. So this is our Google Classroom, and I'll talk more about this at another time. So this week's notes and lecture is about the very first assignment you need to do for your technical or for your professional portfolio. So just as a quick little introduction here, you see the word professionalism. And I know you've heard me use that word and say that word a whole bunch of times to you already, because that is part of my job as a career and technical education teacher. So the actual definition of professionalism, it says the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark a profession or a professional person. Okay, so who cares, right? Well, you need to care. Because there are several benefits to being seen, and you don't really have to copy this. I'm going to move me over here. This is just kind of FYI stuff. I don't really think you need to copy it down, but there are several benefits to being seen as a professional person. A few of them are you will be selected for jobs and promotions and other opportunities. And again, it is a competitive world. Some people love to compete. Some people hate to compete. It doesn't really matter if you love it or hate it. It is what it is. We are all competing for opportunities, and especially in the employment world of work. Okay, there's a lot of people trying to get jobs, and you're one of them, and so you have to be competitive. Part of the way that you can make yourself competitive is to be professional. So some other benefits is that you will be respected by others, you will be listened to, and you will have more satisfaction in yourself, your life, and your career. No matter what your career field is, there are some universal characteristics and traits of a professional person. Professionalism starts with how you present yourself, and it includes how you look and dress, how you speak, how you act, and how your documents and your paperwork looks. And again, just as a reminder, you guys are supposed to be going out on 2-week internships at the end of your senior year. And, my job is to make sure that you're ready to go do that. And that you are able to do these things, look and dress and speak and act in a professional way, like a young adult, a young professional for the workplace. Okay, so I'll be constantly, if I think anybody needs some help in those areas, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna remind you. I'm gonna give you some hints along the way throughout the year to get you ready for that point, because when all of our agencies agree to accept you at their sites for internship, it's because I'm telling them that you are professional enough to be able to go and be there. Okay. So since we are working on the required documents for your professional portfolio this week, we're going to start here. And this is your homework that's due this Friday. Now, you can pause this video as you need to. I'm not going to stop and wait for you to do that, to follow these instructions. But what you're going to do is you're going to open your Google Drive. You're going to go to your Shared with Me folder. Just like last year, I shared a bunch of stuff with you guys. And if it was something that you needed to edit for yourself, you were going to make a copy. Because remember, what I share with you is view only. And going back to Google Classroom, I'll probably share the reference sheet, because that is your assignment this week, a reference sheet that goes in the portfolio. You're going to make a copy so that you can edit it. Move the copy to your portfolio folder in your drive. This is so important, guys. Remember, I go to your portfolio folder on the Google, you're in your name folder, to look for homework and assignments that are due for me. If it's not in that folder, you're not going to get credit as having done it. Okay, don't let it live out in no man's land. Always put it where it needs to be. You're going to rename your copy of the reference sheet to last name reference sheet, right? I know you've done that a bunch last year. So, and these are just screenshots of showing you, to do that. And actually, I just had it up right here. This is what it's going to look like. This is this is your homework for Friday, your reference sheet. This is one of the required pieces in that professional portfolio. And so I'm going to go through this and explain what it is, why you need it, and how it should look. But over here, you're going to rename it and put your last name in, and you're going to make sure, if it's not already living in your portfolio folder on the Google Drive, you're going to move it there. Okay? So, your name is the most important and valuable thing you will ever own. And I know I said that to you guys last year, and a lot of you nodded and you got that right away, but it's so true. Make sure that whenever anyone hears or sees your name, they think only good things. The Department of Labor did a study and found that employers take 7 seconds to sort job applications and resumes. 7 seconds. One pile is to be looked at again, a closer look, to decide who are we going to bring in for an interview. The other pile went straight into the garbage. 7 seconds. Does your application, does your resume make the garbage pile or the pile that's going to be looked at a little bit closer? I just got done, telling you or reminding you that this world, this life, adult life, is competitive. Right? So you're applying for a job. You're one person and they have one opening. But maybe 100 people apply for that very same job. 100 people. They don't have the time to go through 100 resumes, 100 applications. They need a system to whittle it down, weed it down, and make it more manageable because they're only going to hire one. So right off the bat, they're saying they're picking ones to throw away, not even look at them any further. Well, how are they making that decision? How could they make that decision in 7 seconds? Well, spelling errors, grammar errors, punctuation errors, capitalization, formatting. Formatting is how your document is laid out, lined up, highlighted, etc. Your word processing skills. Knowledge of your word processing software is critical. And I taught you a little bit of this last year. We'll go through it again. But really, can you afford to have a spelling capitalization error if it's going to cause your application resume to go in the garbage? And honestly, it jumps out at you like it's like a neon sign. The lowercase I that I've been talking to you about forever, right? You are not a lowercase letter. So I've tried to break you of that habit, but if you haven't broken the habit yet, maybe this will help you break that habit. You need to go back through and make sure you don't have these kinds of errors, because as a high school graduate, this is not, you should be able to proofread and have this be perfect so that you don't get thrown into the garbage before anybody has even considered what you have to offer. So if you have, so you made a copy so that you can edit your reference sheet. And these are just screenshots where I'm showing you your toolbar, and up here is your font style and the size of your font. Professional documents should be Arial size 12. Arial size 12. Whether you're using Microsoft Word or Google Docs, they offer a whole lot of really pretty fonts. It's not professional, not in the business world or the professional world. So Arial size 12. So when you start to edit your reference list, make sure, and I know this is Times New Roman probably, and if you wanted to do edit, you know what, I'm going to do it right now. Let me move me. Edit. Select all. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. What? Oh, I'm in the way. Edit. Select all. There it is. It automatically highlighted everything. I go here and I'm going to pick Arial. See how that changed? And I'm going to go to 12. And the only thing is, because this up here is the heading, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to change that to 18. All right. And remember, when you see the lines, double click the line to select it. And then just start typing. Okay. I'm going to undo that. So, all right, back to our notes. And move me back up here. So there's your font style and your size. This is where you bold, italicize, underline, and change your ink color and highlight, the little highlighter right there. Professional documents only use black ink, and we only bold and underline to emphasize key things. Some of you guys like to get crazy with your bold and formatting and things like that. So be judicious. So over here, this is where you align your text on the paper. Left justified, centered, and right justified. See, the big, bold, red letters do not tab or space to center your text. Use this. Use the center button right there. Okay. Tabbing, and I know you were probably taught that by teachers at homeschool, but tabbing and spacing to get something centered is an outdated typewriter method. When you print your document, the words will not be centered because the alignment on a computer printer is not the same as the alignment on an old-fashioned typewriter. So please just pick the center button to center things. Because again, it's obvious. People notice these things. Maybe you wouldn't notice it, but believe me, a lot of people would. I would notice it. Oh, that alignment is off. That looks weird. Attention to detail, critical. So over here, darn it, sorry. I don't know what's happening. Over here, this is where you change your line spacing, number, and bullet items, because you're going to use these for your resume and other documents we're going to be working on. So professional documents should be single spaced or at most 1.15. That's right here, single spaced or 1.15. I know that teachers, a lot of them want you to do your assignments double spaced. We're not doing double spacing. That's for school. That's for high school. or even elementary school. For professional documents, it's single spacing or 1.15. Okay. So, first portfolio item, the reference sheet. References are people who will say good things about you, recommending you to an employer for a job. And almost everybody asks you for your references. Never put a person's name down without asking them first. And also tell them which job it is that you're applying for. Because I may be happy to give you a reference for a criminal justice job, but right now, from what I know about you so far, I'm probably not going to give you a reference to go be a heart surgeon right now. I know that's silly, right? But obviously, a person that's giving you a reference is able to speak on your skills, ability, and knowledge in that particular job. If they don't know anything about you related to that job, they can't really give you a reference. So make sure you ask them and make sure you tell them which job it is. Then when they say, yes, you may use me, then you can put their name down. Okay. So our reference sheet asks you to name 3 different individuals, and there are 3 different types of references. The first one is well, this is out of order here. It says an academic, an employment, and a personal reference. But if you look at the sheet, the first one is an employer. So any manager or boss that you have had in a part-time job could go there. If you've worked under the table, you can still put that person down as a reference as an employer. You know, if you've never had a part-time job, I will help you. We'll talk in person, one-on-one of some things that you might be able to use as an employer reference. An academic reference is a teacher. Certainly, if you're trying to get a criminal justice job, your criminal justice teacher is probably a good person to have as a reference, but you don't have to use me. Any teacher, any coach that you have that you're close to or that you feel knows you well enough to give you a reference, certainly you can put them down. And then personal reference, that's more like an adult friend of yours or your family's that know you well enough to speak on your behalf. Notice the bottom here, it says you cannot use a family member unless you actually worked for them. Like if your family owns their own business and they actually were your boss, then you can put them down as a reference. But otherwise, you can't put family. You can't put your mom. You can't your brother or sister. And you can't really use peers, like friends that are your own age. We're looking for adults who are, not that connected to you. They're going to be more objective. All right. So 3 references you're going to need: an employment reference, an academic reference, and a personal reference. 3 different people. And you want to ask them before you put their information down on this piece of paper. So, okay. So this now goes into actually how to start editing this. And again, if you need to pause the video to put your screen side by side. So this video is over here and your reference sheet is over here, so you can do these things as I'm talking about it. But I just showed you, double click on the line will go away and start typing. So your name goes there. Again, capitalization, punctuation, etc. The first reference is an employer, as I said, someone you have worked for. If you've never had a job, it can be somebody that you worked under the table for or volunteered for. We want to always use proper names, proper titles. You might have called them by their first name at the job, and that because they wanted you to, and that's okay. But this is professional. So we're not just going to put John. It's Mr. John, and then whatever the last name is, Smith, okay? So employer name is the person. I just said this. Always use titles in people's names, no matter how you call them in real life. So, for example, Mr., Mrs., Ms., right? Mrs. Are married women. Ms. are unmarried women. If you're not sure, just put Ms. to be safe. Just that's acceptable. And if you don't know, Miss, MISS, that's the title for girls, little girls, or girls who have not yet reached puberty. Once a girl reaches puberty, she becomes a Ms. And you are a Ms. from that point until you get married, and then you become a Mrs. And guys, you're just Mr. from the day you're born. You're Mr. Okay. So the next information that they're asking you for is their job title and their organization name. So job title is their title, not yours at the job, their title. The person that's giving you a reference, what is their title? If you're not sure, you're going to need to call them. You're going to need to email them or text them or something and get this information. It could be supervisor, it could be manager, it could be CEO. They'll tell you what their official title is. And then organization name is the name of the business. What is the name of the business where this employment happened? The address and phone number are their business. It should be their business phone number and street address. And look, you need a city. It doesn't look like you need a zip code, so that's okay. And then email if they have one. Remember, we never leave blanks on forms, so if there's no email, you put N/A, not applicable. Again, watch your capitalization and your abbreviations. If you're going to abbreviate street, it's capital ST period. If you're going to abbreviate avenue, it's capital AVE period. And I'll help you guys with these things. I'm not printing if it's not perfect. So you need to get all that information. And you know what? If they have a website, you get it right off the website. If it's a business where their personal cell is also their business phone, that's fine. Just use that. This is the hardest part of the whole form, and it's only got to be a few sentences. Is the instruction says, in a brief paragraph, explain why this person was chosen as a reference. Why did you pick that person to speak on your behalf? So what does that mean? It's explain how this person knows you and is able to speak on your behalf. Do not write what they will say about you. That's not for you to say. It's for them to say. That's why you're putting their information down. So if I was the one looking to hire you and you gave me these people as references, I'm going to call them to see what they have to say about you. I'm not going to take your word for it, right? Because we would all say, oh, they'll tell you I'm wonderful. You can't say that. Let them say that. So how do you know them? So if this were the employer reference, okay, they were your employer, but I don't know what your duties were. I don't know how they interacted with you or how they know you in that job. So you would say, Mrs. Smith was my employer or was my supervisor at the job. I did XYZ for her. And she can speak on, maybe my work ethic and my punctuality, my attention to detail, maybe things like that. But that's as far as you can go. If it's an academic reference, Mrs. Gillette was my criminal justice teacher for 2 years. She can speak on my academic ability and my commitment and interest in this field. Something like that. And then personal reference, how do you know, okay, this person's your neighbor. Well, how long have they been your neighbor? 2 years or 20 years? You know, how often do you really see them? How often do you interact with each other? Have you done things for them? You know, did you help mow their lawn or shovel their snow or do anything like that? So here's an example of an employer reference. I have worked for the Waterford SACC program for 3.5 months. I spent 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at the program. During my days spent with the program, I supervised and assisted school-aged children and provided activities for them to occupy them throughout the day. I believe that Ms. Lazaro could speak confidently of my work ethic and pride in my work. Okay, that's not a perfect paragraph. It's not a perfect sentence structure, but it's pretty decent. They're not saying what Mrs. Lazaro would say about them, but they're saying how she knows them, in what context, in what areas could she speak about them. So that's just kind of an example to help you. And you see that it's not long. There's not a lot. You don't have to write a book. Here's another one. I just kind of gave you this example. I have known Mrs. Gillette for 2 years and was a student in her criminal justice class. I spent 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week in class with her. Throughout her class, I completed several certifications and did many hours of community service for her. She's very knowledgeable of my work ethic inside and outside of the classroom. I think that's very good. But again, you're going to talk to the person before you write that. You're going to get their permission before you put all that down. And a personal reference. Mrs. Daigle is a family friend of mine that I have known for about 4 years. I have been involved in many of her family events, and I have gone on trips with them. I have been introduced to many different cultural traditions from her, and I was fortunate enough to experience ancient Celtic camping with them. I believe she knows my character well and could talk about my morals accurately. Okay. So I have a visual of who this person is related to you, how you know them and how they know you. And that's it. That's the last slide. So that is your homework for this week. It is a required piece in the portfolio. You need to think about and come up with 3 references: employer, academic, and personal, and fill out the sheet and do it. Use that toolbar for your formatting to make it look proper the way it should, with your font and your size and your color and punctuation, spelling, grammar, etc. And that's it. And it is a graded assignment, right? It's 1 point for every error. So if you want a 100, you're going to have it perfect before Friday. If you don't have it perfect on Friday, the grade you get is the grade you get, but I'm still going to make you fix it before I print it. So you might as well get the 100 the first time, because you're still going to have to edit it and fix it if it isn't perfect. All right? Okay, guys. And of course, I'm here for any questions that you have. All right. Bye.